Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando. And we have another, well, I don't want to make it a 5 because Mike made it clear we can't do 5s anymore.
No, we could do 5s, but today we're talking about the best ways to ensure that you're using OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, all these local deals. How can you make sure that you're sourcing in a way where you're going to get the best deals? So we're going to be talking about how to source from these places, how to source from OfferUp, how to source from Facebook Marketplace, how to source from Craigslist in a way that you can make the most amount of money when you turn around and sell this stuff on eBay. And a lot of times, dealing with the negotiations over the phone, it could be challenging, trying to go back and forth. And so we're going to talk about ways to ensure that you can make those deals and be profitable. So let us know in the comments below, what are some of the tips and tricks you use when using OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Nextdoor app, whatever it is you're using, and maybe one or two of your big scores. What are some things that you've gotten off of local and have been able to turn around and sell either again on local or on eBay? So let us know your tips, tricks, and a good deal, a sell that you've gotten. Let us know, and then we can all be on the lookout. So let us know. And while you're doing that, please make sure to hit the like, subscribe, notification, comment, share with your friends, share with your grandma, share with your mom. You know, Mother's Day is coming up. Maybe you can send them a Pure Hustle Podcast mug and just let them know how great
YouTube
it is.
video.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
all
good.
Right. Hey, so I had 5 written down, but we may just make this organic. We're trying to not make this like the podcast, but this is my thing. If you want to lock down those local deals, you have to get as many no's as possible. Okay, let me explain that a little bit. If you're only going after like 1 or 2 a day or 1 or 2 a week, and they're both no's, you're not going to make money, right? You're gonna go, you know what? This isn't worth it. I'm not making money. But here's the thing. I myself, when I source on these platforms, I'm good with 50 no's. Because as long as I have 3 or 4 good yeses, they're profitable yeses, and they don't take that much work, right? You could have a template ready to go where you're like, hey, I was wondering if you'd be willing to take blah, or, you know, what were you thinking about this? Now, on these platforms, right, they already have their price set. So it's okay. Like I remember there's this one item that, you know, during peak season, I can sell, usually they're selling for about half price on OfferUp. And at peak season, right, I can make some good profit. I can pick these up if I pick it up at the full price. But you don't want to go for the full price because you want to maximize your profit. So I send every single one of those individuals a half price offer. And guess what? I get yeses out of that. Do you do that sometimes?
Yeah, you've got to know what your bare minimum is on something, or I guess I should say your bare max. So the most you're going to go. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid, because sometimes you see a deal, right? I see a cool board game I want. I'm thinking, man, they're asking 30, but if I can get this board game for 10, like I can make a good profit. It would be a good deal for me. If they come back and they're like 20 and you're like, well, that's still $10 cheaper than it was. If your max is 10 is what I need in order to get profit, you stay there and you stick there. Because sometimes you get that fear of missing out. You feel like you almost start to feel like, oh, I almost have it. I'm willing to pay more. And this is not, again, people will rip us all the time and say things like, you're just being a cheapskate. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, give this to me for free, or I'm going to try and rip you off on this. You're coming to a deal, but you got to be willing to know this is what I have to do. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with saying the most I'll pay for a comic book is 10 cents. So if there's a lot of 100 comic books, I'm only going to pay you $10, right? Like I can't do more than that. If I'm paying more than that, I'm going to be losing money, or it's not worth my time. So if they come back and it ends up being 15 cents a comic book, you just have to do the hard no and be willing to say nope. And again, move on to the next person. Ask, will you take this amount for this? And be okay with getting the no's, because you're not really losing anything when you get a no, because there's still going to be hundreds of more people selling those items over the next few days. You'll be fine.
You got to remember too, that these individuals, they accept the offer. They're accepting it because they are okay with that money, right? They could say no. I mean, text is the most broken down form of communication that doesn't take much effort. All they have to say is no, right? And I'll give you an example. I had 2 items this last week that I know sold within 24 hours. I sourced one for $20 and I sold it for $85 within 24 hours. I sourced another one for $25 and I think I sold it between $80 to $100 within 24 hours, right? Those individuals could have very much sold it on eBay or sold it on Amazon or another platform, but they just wanted that quick cash. They weren't concerned about it. And again, I had a lot of no's, but those 2 yeses, over $100 net profit. So be comfortable with the no's.
Yeah, that's good. And that brings us to the next one, which is seal the deal as soon as possible. And this goes both if you're the seller or the buyer, because this happens in both instances on OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, is you start to deal with somebody. And if you push it back, if you say like, oh, sweet, I can get this item for $5, and then you wait a half hour to respond to them, you might have lost it, right? Somebody else might have picked it up. Same thing with if somebody offers you, right? I have it happen to me all the time where I'm busy, I missed an offer and it's like, it's been 2 hours and I'm like, oh yeah, this is available. And they're like, oh, sorry, about somebody else, or I never hear from them. Whereas if you can immediately say, yep, when can you meet? Let's do it now. And if you can't do that, if you can't make it happen right away and say, yes, let's do it, there's a chance you're going to lose the sale because unless an item has been on OfferUp for posted 37 days ago, if it's been posted in the last day or two, you're probably not the only person messaging them. And you've got to assume that there's going to be competition. So you've got to be willing to strike and strike fast.
And it goes hand in hand with the next one I was going to talk about, right? Seal the deal ASAP. As soon as they accept the offer, say, great, I can pay you right away. What location would you like to meet and what time? Like, be very direct about it. Don't go like, hey, what time works best for you? Or here, what location were you thinking? Just say, hey, awesome, I can pay you right away. Where should we meet? At what time? And that's it. And here's the next part. You be willing to drop everything. Now, I know it's not convenient for everyone, right? Mike is a full-time teacher, right? I teach once a week for an hour and a half. So during that time, I can't do it. And I also have kids. But here's the deal. Even if you've locked in that deal, did I just say deal twice in 30 seconds? I'm sorry. Okay. Even if you have that deal happening, right? You sealed it. They're like, good, I'll take it. Let's meet at this time, at this place. You have to make sure you are there on time or even earlier. I've had it before. I had a pair of Doc Martens that it was a sweet deal and I was going to make some great money and I had scheduled it for 2:00 and I could have showed up earlier, but I kind of was like, I want to eat my lunch. I want to do a couple listings and I'll show up. And sure enough, the deal was all locked in. And then I get a message at 1:30 saying, hey, so sorry, somebody was able to show up earlier. They're no longer available. Right. And I was crushed. Right. And that's because I was not willing to drop everything and just get moving.
And this works again, too, as the seller. A lot of times you're selling something. You've got to create that sense of urgency. So somebody says like, yeah, I'll do $100. And if they're pushing it out and they're like, I won't be able to come for a couple of days, you could say, great, no problem. I have somebody who's interested and they might come tomorrow. If it's still available, I'll let you know. And you'd be surprised at how many times they're like, okay, I can meet you tonight. Right. Like it changes things when you create that sense of urgency. That's another way of sealing the deal and basically forcing them to drop everything. Right. Is look, that's fine. We can meet in 4 days when it's the weekend. That's great. Just let you know, though, somebody might be coming and looking at it tomorrow. So I'll let you know if it gets sold. It happens all the time. The response, I could be there in an hour. Right. And you get your sale, you're good to go.
Yeah. And so this next piece, all these kind of build on each other, right? This is how a perfect buy should go. The last part is communicate. So here's the thing. Let's say you're telling them, hey, I'm going to be there in an hour. And then you end up on the freeway. And I'm not telling you to illegally text anybody. Okay. But you're going to be late. You see your GPS, right? You get that red line across the road. That means, it's more congested. Then your time keeps going up and up and up. Next thing you know, you're 15 minutes late. Communicate ASAP. Hey, send them a screenshot of your GPS if you want, whatever way you want to do it. But you got to let them know, hey, listen, I was there. I was going to be there on time, but for whatever reason, there's traffic. I'm sorry. I'm going to be 5 minutes late. I'm going to be 10 minutes late. I always let people know before I leave, hey, I'm going to text you when I'm 5 minutes away. And if anything happens before that, I let them know because no one likes flakes on these platforms, right? Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, all are notorious for people that flake. And so if you're more than 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, they might just say, you know what? I have a party to go to. I have a lunch to go to. Or they may just connect with the next buyer that was saying, hey, I'd be willing to pay this much, and you can lose that sale. So make sure you communicate every step of the way. Thank you. You're welcome. Appreciate it. Always positive. You basically want to let the person know that you're a real person and real people communicate.
Yeah, because it's not uncommon to have bots reach out or to have where you're the buyer and it's a bot that you're reaching out to. Mm-hmm. So creating that clear, this is a human being I'm talking to is a really crucial thing to do. And then little things too, like we would always suggest having change available. Right. There's been a couple of times where I've forgotten to bring change on a local sale and they can't break. You know, you have exact if you're going or ask them. That's part of communication. Hey, this is for 40. I only have a 50. Can you break that? Right. Before you start driving. So you know that you need to stop at the gas station and buy a Snickers and get change. Or if you're the one doing the selling, you can say, you know, please bring exact amount or bring change, because there's been times where I've forgotten change. They come and they're like, oh, I only have 100. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I can't break that right now. You're going to have to go break it and come back. And that's because I don't meet people at my house. I meet them at locations. But so communicate that stuff if you need to. If you don't have change and you're the seller, let them know. If you are going, make sure to find out if you need to get change or not.
Agreed. You don't want that awkward stalemate. Now, the last piece is, I say, think outside the box. And Mike and I have talked about this before on the podcast. Have more cash on hand than what you're going to buy, because you never know what other opportunities might show up. Sometimes it's real quick. Like I'll pull up and they just go up to my passenger window. They drop the item. The money's there. They pick up the money
through the window and cash. Yeah, it's like a weird drug deal.
Oh, it's like so fast sometimes because, you know, especially during this era of COVID, a lot of people don't like to spend a lot of time with each other. Now, we always talk about clicking on their profile and seeing what other items there are on there. Now, I wouldn't try to seal those deals until you show up, because cash, to me, and you might disagree, but cash speaks a lot better than just words on a screen. So if you show up and you're ready to buy and go, hey, listen, you know, when I was wondering, do you have any other items? Don't even bring up that you saw what they had. Right? Ask them. And then they go, oh yeah, I have a couple of things. And then you can say, oh yeah, I remember seeing this and this. Are you willing to make a deal on all these items? Then you can walk away with more, because they're saying, hey, I can get rid of all this. This actually happened a few months ago during COVID. I went during COVID, well, whatever, you know what I mean, a year ago. Okay, when at the height of the pandemic, I remember somebody had a nice pair of cowboy boots. And I saw that they had a bunch of others, and I showed up with a bunch of extra cash because I actually was going to try to buy them all out. And I show up and I'm like, hey, I was wondering if you had any other boots. Like, oh, I got all these boots listed on OfferUp. And in my head, I already knew this. And he's like, yeah, come over. And we went inside his house and he's showing me all his collection. I said, you know what? I resell. How much would you be willing to sell all these for? And I ended up, I dropped, I think, a good amount of money. And I made all that money back within a week, and I made really nice profit. I'm talking about cowboy boots that I was flipping for $300 to $500 a piece. Right? So be ready. That's another advantage to lock in that deal and maximize profits. Have you had something like that similar?
Yeah, and typically I usually try and make the deal ahead of time, and I think it is a good idea to do it when you get there. I think that's a
whatever
that's
works
a valid thing too. But yeah, looking at what they have, because sometimes you can get the better deal, right? So if you're trying to get something, you're trying to talk them down to $10. If you kind of like our previous negotiation videos, you all of a sudden start bundling a bunch of things together, you can get that price point down, because you're like, well, what if I throw this in, this in, and this in? Can we do for this price? And then you can start using those negotiation techniques. So that is something you could do ahead of time to make sure it's even worth it driving out. Maybe you wouldn't drive out for one item, but if it's 8 items for sure you're getting, it's worth the drive.
Yeah, so you can use the Mike method or Orlando method. Either way, they still work. And hopefully this allowed you to lock in those deals, whether you're using OfferUp, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor, or whatever other app is out there.
Yeah.
And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.